Hello everyone, here's what's coming up tonight on News Center Now. A national flu epidemic is making its way into Maine. Why cases are worse this year.
All right, everybody saw what happened in Hawaii over the weekend with that false alarm. We talked to some Mainers who are living in Hawaii about what happened.
And an unbelievable weekend for a youth hockey team at the Garden. We're going to have that story coming up.
This is News Center Now.
Cars are surrounded by ice, submerged in freezing cold water after this weekend's flooding.
And the ice jams are building up on Maine's rivers. Keith Carson will have a live report just ahead. Hello everybody, I'm Lee Goldberg.
And I'm Lindsay Mills. Thanks for joining us. So this weekend's ice storm wasn't what we thought it was going to be, but the ice jams are turning out to be a real problem for people who live along Maine's rivers.
Yeah, Keith Carson joins us now live in Fryeburg with Stormy and Keith. So we've got the ice jams already there. We've got some snow coming. Is that going to be a dangerous recipe?
Well, you know, the snow shouldn't add to the problems. The ice jams are kind of their own problem, and it started because of the thaw that we had last week. Typically, you think about ice jams, you think about it happening in the springtime. We're along the Saco River, by the way, and the visual here is pretty stunning. I've seen some ice jams, especially when I lived in Vermont. They typically broke up a little bit faster than this, though, and they ended up pushing with the water downstream, and that has not been the case here in Saco. With the Saco River, it has diverted the flow actually to a field on the other side here. All right, let's have a look at the temperatures, because part of the problem here, of course, is that we are now refreezing everything. So this ice jam is not going anywhere until we loosen these temperatures back up, which might be a while from now. It's 17 right now in Fryeburg. I'll tell you, it feels a little bit colder than that. It could be the proximity to the fields of ice that I'm standing in right now as well. We're going to be cold tonight. It's the last cold one in a little bit, though. Temperatures will drop down below zero in spots, single digits for most of us, and right around zero in some of our inland communities. Not much going on the satellite radar right now, but there is a storm system off to our west that we're going to be watching. That is a little clipper that's going to move in tomorrow night and into Wednesday. And although it's a clipper, it's got a little hybrid action going on with it, which means it'll grab a little energy from the Gulf of Maine that will allow it to maybe overperform snowfall-wise. When you think about clippers, you think about 1 to 3 inches of snow. And I can tell you guys, Lee and Lindsay, that it will be more than 1 to 3 for most of us. So we'll talk details and timing in just a few minutes.
All right, Keith, thank you very much, sir. This story had everybody talking this weekend, right? So the Hawaiian emergency worker who reportedly pushed the wrong button, which sent out an alert of an incoming missile, was reassigned pending an internal review.
News Center Maine spoke with a local father whose daughter was on the island when a false alert was sent out over the weekend. And today we're hearing the stories of 2 Mainers who now live in Hawaii and what they say was a wake-up call.
Nobody really knew what we were supposed to do.
Natalie Cackness grew up in York. She moved to Hawaii a couple years ago for a job and never left.
The alert came right around 8 a.m. It being a Saturday morning, I was still in bed and got woken up to my phone just buzzing, buzzing, buzzing.
All of our phones went haywire.
Travis Carey is from Bangor. He works as a minister in Waimanalo and was in the middle of a weekly men's prayer group when the alert went out.
We live in a world now where it's just one push of a button away where there can be total chaos. I think that's a wake-up call, and it should help people put things back into a perspective.
Unfortunately, I think it could be a threat everywhere. Us in Hawaii, we're in the middle of the ocean, so we're the closest target, but if this became a real thing and then, our whole country had to go to war, that's something that would obviously affect everyone.
38 minutes of absolute terror, waiting for impact before they got another text. It was a false alarm.
We don't know what we should have done if this was real.
If the missile's coming, I don't know where we're gonna go.
Cackness says she used Facebook right away to check and see if others were getting the same alert, and it helped knowing she at least wasn't alone.
It is kind of tough being so far from home. I'll always be a Mainer. Being out in the middle of the ocean and getting a threat like that was, pretty scary.
Now, Cagna says her mother lives in Oahu too. She was able to talk with her about what they should do in the event of an actual missile attack. She and her boyfriend also work at a local hospital out there and would likely be called into work if they weren't working already if such a threat were true.
38 minutes. I mean, 38 minutes, especially if you're a parent. It's like, if I get that alert, I'm grabbing all my kids from, if they're at school, whatever, you go get them. I mean, you must be going crazy for 38 minutes.
What Cagna said. She said a lot of her friends that have children were panicked.
Yeah.
Panicked.
If they're not with you, you go find them. So it's, anyway, but luckily nothing happened there.
Right.
All right, other news. For the first time in 13 years, almost the entire country is now reporting widespread influenza, including Hawaii and Washington, D.C. Maine peaked late, which doctors say is normal, only reaching that widespread status on Friday.
So what does this mean, and why is it such a big year for the flu? Christina Rex spoke to a doctor at Maine Medical Center to get the answers.
I think that this was to be expected, and a lot of us were very concerned.
With 53 Mainers hospitalized for the flu just a week into the new year, the flu season prognosis isn't looking good. Dr. August Valenti at Maine Medical Center says the reason might be partially due to this year's vaccine.
The vaccine match wasn't as good as we hoped.
In fact, in Australia, this year's vaccine only proved to be about 10% effective. Dr. Valenti says the goal is 70 to 80% effectiveness.
Here in the United States, I'm seeing numbers about 10 to 30%.
Nonetheless, he says you should still get the vaccine and that it's not too late.
Even though it may not be 100% effective, it's helpful. So everything that we do is one step in preventing the spread of the disease.
Other than the vaccine, how can you prevent catching the flu? Dr. Valenti explains how the flu is spread.
Influenza is spread by droplets, which means that if you're in coughing distance from somebody.
Influenza is not an airborne disease like many believe. In fact, those droplets the doctor mentioned can live on surfaces for quite some time.
So it's very important for people to realize that, to wash their hands and try to keep their hands away from their face.
In Portland, Christina Rex, News Center.
Just so we're clear, Hawaii and Washington, D.C. are not included right now in the widespread outbreak of influenza. So we also have an Ask Now question to answer. A viewer called in and said, well, why do you see videos on the news of doctors not wearing masks while they're talking about the flu? Dr. Valenti says at Maine Medical Center, hospital staff are required to wear masks if there is a known case of the flu or if they have not been vaccinated against that.
Interesting. I used to volunteer at a children's hospital, and it was the same protocol. If you had your flu shot, you got a little sticker on your ID badge that said, I've had the flu shot, and the color changed every year. If you didn't have that sticker, you had to wear a mask. So
there you go.
All right. Well, how about this question? Is it inhumane to boil live lobsters? One European nation thinks so. Why it's now against the law.
And a group of young athletes from Maine won a trip to the NHL All-Star Game. What they have to say about this amazing opportunity is coming up.
Coming up tonight on 207, to find the most beautiful mountains in Maine, head to the western part of the state. We'll take a look at some magnificent photography that captures that beauty. And the simple but deep pleasures brought to us by Family Dogs on 207.
What is this?
Did you ever feel bad for Sebastian in The Little Mermaid? Okay, we know he's a crab, but for the purpose of this story, we showed you that. You might not feel bad for lobsters when they go into the pond.
He's a cute little crab, too. Well, the Swiss apparently really do feel bad for crustaceans because starting in March, it will be illegal for cooks in Switzerland to place live lobsters into boiling water. They are asked to kill the lobster first with electric shock or other methods. Yeah, that's much better. That's according to the Washington Post. I mean, seriously. We talked to Bob Bayer of the University of Maine's Lobster Institute. He says lobsters probably don't process pain because they don't have a brain in their nervous system. He also says most Maine lobsters are already dead when they are exported overseas.
Okay, and of course we couldn't resist and asked you to weigh in on this. Reg says he learned to split their heads open quickly on MasterChef. He says it works for him. Brad says he just apologizes profusely on the way to the pot, and the lobsters seem to understand. Sean's a jokester. He says he forces lobsters to watch the news, kills them in less than 10 minutes, and they retain all of their flavor.
Hannah says, I tried to kill a lobster humanely, and all I did was put a big hole in my counter from the 45. I'll stick to boiling them. Okay. Amber says, I wonder if it's illegal to step on spiders and ants as well. I find the easy way out of that situation, just let them cook them for me where I'm buying them, and then I don't have to worry about that part.
Yeah, there you go.
Then I don't have to see it, and I don't have to worry about it.
Exactly.
Just eat it.
Yeah.
All right, competition getting very fierce in the NFL playoffs.
He did it. He did it. Stephon Diggs did it.
Literal tears of joy. Vikings fans went insane after a walk-off touchdown last night. We'll take a look at some of the best reactions from the historic event.
You can't wait for that. And there's a chance for some snow later this week. How much should we expect? That's coming up in the full forecast.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I am with the Maine Gladiators. These are the Squirt 3-on-3 champions from an event down at Boston Garden over the weekend. That's unbelievable. Like, you guys were the best team in all of New England. What was that like?
It was very cool. It's kind of like an accomplishment to be the best. So
You're at Boston Garden over the weekend, where obviously the Bruins play. Did you get out there? Were you nervous? Were you excited? Both?
I wasn't nervous, but I think our moms were, and they were just probably like, oh, we're going to win. And when we were in the finals in a shootout, I think everybody was nervous.
All right, we're going to talk about the shootout in a second, because this is the goalie right here. We'll talk to him in a second. When you win states and you qualify for this, when you go down there, do you think, oh my gosh, we have a really good chance to win this, or were you just happy to get down to the Boston Garden?
We were happy to get down there, I think, and we didn't really think we were going to win, but we were excited, and yeah.
All right, goalie. Shootouts. There were, what, 2 or 3 of shootouts that you guys had to even win just to even get this far? It's a shootout. There's big stakes on the line. You're the goalie. Were you nervous? Like, I can't even believe I'm in a shootout at Boston Garden.
Very nervous.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking if I let a goal in,
So because you won this tournament at the Boston Garden over the weekend, you guys now all get to go to the NHL All-Star Game in Tampa. Yeah. So what is that going to be like, to go to the NHL All-Star Game and be down there as the winners of this, and you get to go for free and see all your favorite people all on the ice?
It's going to be surreal. It's going to be really fun just watching everybody play. Hopefully it's going to be a high-scoring game, because seeing goals is pretty fun.
And it's a 3-on-3 tournament too, right? So you guys are going to be like, hey, we won ours, so that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and then we're doing a shootout down there.
Oh, you're going to get to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Against any other teams? Is it just for fun, or is it like a competitive thing?
It's against all like the other teams who had kind of like what we did. They're sending teams, so we're going to play those teams.
So you have a chance to be world champs or national champs or whatever.
Yeah. It's probably going to be hard, because we had to go up against a lot of hard competition at Boston, so it's probably going to be a lot harder in Tampa.
Are you ready for this?
It's cool to represent Maine, and I think we're going to be representing the Bruins. We're going to be wearing their jerseys, and yeah, it's going to be cool to meet all the good players and stuff.
And maybe if you guys do well, you could just challenge the NHL All-Stars.
Maybe.
Yeah, the goalie doesn't want to take those NHL shots. All right, guys, well, congratulations. Great job. Well done, and good luck down in Tampa.
Good luck, exactly. Okay, only one Bruins player made the All-Star team this year. Brad Marchand is the only rep from Boston going down to Tampa. The kids we just chatted with are hoping they get a chance to meet the high-scoring Bruin.
That was cool.
Yeah.
They were so excited.
They were so cute.
Yeah, wasn't that great?
Goodness.
So it's a big deal for them. So
very big deal.
I love how Ace said, I wasn't nervous, but all of our moms were.
I know, exactly.
100% truth.
And what a cool experience already playing on the ice at the Garden.
Yes.
I mean, that alone is something they'll remember forever.
And what if they could have actually met Keith Carson? How cool would that have been? Oh, wait, they actually did meet Keith. No,
Keith,
they did
Keith
meet
is
Keith.
on the ice right now. He's just not at the Garden ice.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually let them in, Lee, so that's something, right? They're standing out there with our security blocking them. We are on the ice, but we're not standing on it for safety reasons. We're at Saco River here, a huge ice jam, one of the more solid ones I've seen. I used to see a decent amount of them in Vermont and upstate New York, but they tended to flow better than this. But of course, we went back into the deep freeze on Saturday night, Sunday, so now we have this huge ice jam, and the river has diverted itself kind of off screen in this direction. It's going to look like a black hole. That's where it's over River Street itself, and because people are stupid, they keep driving over it. We see it. There's lots of road closed signs, but people decide, nah, I don't think that applies to me. I'll drive over the ice that has a river underneath it. That's usually a good call. All right, let's show you what's going on outside right now. As I mentioned, it was the thaw, then the deep freeze. That's what put this whole thing together as far as the ice jam goes, and we're obviously still in the freezer. Tonight, 0 in Freiburg should do it for an overnight low. Portland around 8. This will be the coldest night for a little while, as we will try to moderate our temperatures, and that will include, by the way, the snow in between. Typically, snow is a moderator for our temperature profile. Here's a look at the radar off to the west. There's a little bit of a clipper. It's a mess right now as it moves towards Toronto, but it will gain a little additional energy and organization as it moves towards Maine into the Gulf of Maine tomorrow night and into Wednesday morning. That will give it just a little extra oomph. So during the day tomorrow, we're fine. There are clouds around. It's cold to start. It's not a good looking day. A couple of snow showers start popping up in the middle of the day and into the afternoon, but the more consistent snow does not begin until Tuesday night. Now I'm going to switch over computer models here because I don't like the way this one is handling it. Let's switch to the Euro, where it shows the snow moving in on Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. Now Wednesday morning it's snowing at a pretty good clip over much of the state, so I think we're looking at probably a decent amount of cancellations as far as schools go there, as it will be over most of the state except for Aroostook County at that point. Snowing moderately through the afternoon, with a few sleet pellets being mixed in along the coastline and down East Maine and certainly into the islands. And the snow moves out of here by Wednesday late afternoon and early evening. So it is a quick moving system, quick hit of snow. You know, I mentioned before it was an Alberta Clipper at its root, and typically, everything else aside, Alberta Clippers are good for 1 to 3 inches of snow. But because it goes into the Gulf of Maine and gets a little additional energy there, we bumped up snow amounts along the coastline where we think the snow will be heaviest, trimming away from down east due to sleet pellets mixing and a little bit of rain shower activity. Then 3 to 5 for the foothills and most of the mountains, then just 1 to 3 over the northwestern section of the state, as they'll be a little bit too far away from the source of the snow. And again, most of this falls on Wednesday morning into early Wednesday afternoon. After that, we are pretty just temperate on Thursday and Friday. Nothing really to write home about in either direction. Temperatures around 30 degrees. And then the weekend looks pretty good. Saturday I like a lot. I think a lot of us will be in the mid-40s there on Saturday afternoon with a good deal of sunshine. Sunday could be a split state forecast, much like what we see in the spring, which is to say the northern third of the state could be cold in the 30s, and the southern third of the state could be in the upper 40s. So there might be a pretty big swing during the day on Sunday before we watch that wintry mess possibility on Monday. Then again, Lindsay and Lee, I don't know that Sunday's weather matters that much, particularly around 3 in the afternoon. It's just going to be a matter of where you want to watch the game and whether or not you want to have a window involved in that situation.
Very true, sir. All right, today is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day, the day where we honor the civil rights leader.
That's right, and the birthplace of King is a historical landmark. Here's a look inside the home where he grew up.
And we are standing at the porch, on the porch of Dr. King's house. This is where he was born on January 15th, 1929. And why don't we go on inside? We are now in the parlor of Dr. King's birth home. If you look at the piano, there's a little chip on it. And that is where, when Dr. King was a little boy, he didn't like playing the piano, so he would take a hammer and he hammered down on the piano. We're very excited that the second floor of the birth home is now available for the public to see. It was closed for some time because of repairs. And if you come on upstairs, I'll show you. And this is the birth home room. This is the room that Dr. King would have been born in. If you see the little drawer that they would have put the baby in, and then they would have gotten a crib, cradle.
I think it's always important that people be able to experience, especially seeing while hearing the story of his birth. I mean, I don't know when people come here, especially young people come, whether they correlate birth home to literally mean like hospital, that this is the place where he was physically born, and they discover that once they're here. And you know, that to me is always an interesting story, because I was born in a hospital.
This would have been the room that Dr. King slept in when he was a boy. He and his brother A.D., and Dr. King loved baseball. Behind me is the bedroom of Dr. Christine King Ferris. If you look in the bedroom, you'll find a doll. She would talk about how her brothers would take her doll and chop the heads off and play baseball with it. We are now in the dining room of the house. And this is my favorite room. So I feel like in this dining table is how Dr. King became this great civil rights leader by, as a boy, sitting at the table and having a great support system of everybody in the family believing in civil rights.
When visitors come here, and not just visitors from within the United States, but international visitors, they come here with an expectation that maybe they'll get a tour of the birth home, but they get so much more. And they all say that this is much more than they expected.
Very interesting, a day in the life. All right, let's check in with Cindy Williams. She has a look at what's coming up at 5:30. Hey, Cindy.
Hi, guys. If your car was destroyed because of an ice jam, and a lot of them were in Maine today, will your insurance cover it? Well, it turns out you're going to have a specific type of coverage to get that covered. Good news, it's not that expensive. We'll break it all down for you coming up at 5:30. And another Mainer is on the road to South Korea. We're going to meet a biathlete who has earned a spot on Team USA. That and more all ahead at 5:30. Back to you.
All right, my news center now continues. Lots of screaming. Stay with us. Well, the march to Minnesota rolls on.
The Patriots handily won their playoff matchup against the Tennessee Titans. They're hoping to repeat their victory this Sunday against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags knocked out Pittsburgh yesterday.
But that was not the only upset of the weekend, because the Vikings had a walk-off touchdown against the New Orleans Saints. It was unbelievable to watch, unless you're a Saints fan.
That's right. Here's a roundup of the best reactions from Vikings fans.
Yes! 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 The Vikings win! They did it! Mom! Yes! Skull, baby! Skull! Oh my God! Oh my God! He did it! He did it! Stephon Diggs did it! Oh my God!
Never before in history has a game ended like that in regulation in the playoffs.
All right,
Crazy.
we'll leave you with that. We'll see you next time, and 5:30 at News starts right now.